Rain lashed the windows, a relentless assault. Wind howled like a banshee, tearing at the roof. Barry huddled on the second-floor landing, his sanctuary shrinking with each passing hour. The Rue Parc Fontaine had become a raging river, swallowing homes in its muddy maw. He'd watched helplessly as the water crept up the stairs inch by agonizing inch. Furniture bobbed on the ground floor, a surreal and terrifying tableau. The storm, a monstrous aberration, showed no signs of abating. Food and water were running dangerously low. His stomach gnawed with hunger, a dull ache that mirrored the despair gnawing at his hope. The storm drains, overwhelmed by the deluge, offered no solace. Barry knew he couldn't stay put. He had to take a chance, face the murky depths below. His survival, he realized with a shudder, depended on it. 2 days. 2 days since he'd last eaten, his last meal a distant memory. His throat was parched, his lips cracked and dry. The storm raged on, an unwelcome guest that refused to leave. Downstairs, the murky water churned, hiding God knows what beneath its surface. The thought of venturing into that unknown sent chills down Barry's spine, but hunger, a relentless beast, gnawed at his resolve. He rummaged through his meager supplies, his heart sinking with each empty container. The reality was stark. Stay put and starve, or face the unknown horrors below. Barry took a deep breath, steeling his nerves. He had to eat. He had to survive. The thought of the murky depths, though terrifying, was preferable to the slow death of starvation. He never expected it, never imagined the terror that awaited him beneath the murky surface. As he descended the stairs, each creaking step a hammer blow to his courage, a shape emerged from the gloom. It was massive, easily 6 feet long, its scales glinting in the faint light filtering through the grimy water. A water moccasin, its thick body sinuous and deadly, its triangular head a testament to its venomous nature. The creature regarded him with cold reptilian eyes, its tongue flickered out, tasting the air, scenting his fear. Barry froze, his heart pounding against his ribs like a trapped bird. He'd heard tales of these creatures, whispered warnings from old-timers about their aggression, their deadly venom. Seeing one in the flesh, trapped in the confines of his flooded home, was a nightmare come to life. Barry clung to the banister, his knuckles white, his grip tightening with every passing second, his breath catching in his throat. The water, cold and slimy, reached his chest, sending shivers down his spine. Debris bumped against him, a macabre waltz of broken furniture and household items. He moved slowly, cautiously, his eyes never leaving the serpent that lurked in the shadows. It hadn't moved, its bulk a menacing presence in the gloom. But its eyes, those cold, unblinking eyes, followed his every move, a silent predator waiting for the right moment. His foot brushed against something soft, yielding, sending a jolt of fear through his body. He recoiled instinctively, a gasp escaping his lips. The water, disturbed by his movement, swirled around him, momentarily obscuring his view of the creature. Adding to his growing sense of dread, panic welled up inside him, threatening to consume him, his heart pounding in his chest like a drum. He had to get out of the water, had to reach the kitchen pantry where he had stored some canned goods, his only hope for survival. But the snake lay between him and his goal, a silent, deadly guardian, its presence a constant reminder of the peril he faced. The water was a sensory deprivation tank, muffling sound, distorting vision. Every shadow seemed to writhe, every ripple of the murky surface a potential threat. Barry pushed on, his fear a tangible thing. He caught a flicker of movement in the periphery of his vision. The snake, its massive form a dark silhouette against the grey water, was moving towards him, its progress deceptively swift. Adrenaline surged through Barry's veins. He was trapped with nowhere to go. The creature was closing in, its intent clear in its cold, predatory gaze. He had to act, had to do something, anything to survive. His hand closed around a piece of driftwood, a jagged shard of what was once a table leg. It was all he had, his only weapon against the deadly predator. The water moccasin struck with lightning speed, its jaws snapping shut inches from Barry's face. He recoiled, the stench of musk and decay filling his nostrils. The creature, enraged by his near miss, hissed, its forked tongue tasting the air. Barry lashed out with the makeshift club, connecting with a sickening thud against the snake's thick hide. The creature recoiled, momentarily stunned but far from defeated. It circled him, its body a sinuous black ribbon against the murky backdrop. Barry, his heart pounding in his chest, kept his makeshift weapon raised, his eyes darting, searching for an escape route, an advantage. There was none. He was trapped, at the mercy of a creature far more at home in this watery hell than he could ever be. The snake tensed, its muscles coiling, ready to strike again. Barry knew he couldn't win in a battle of brute strength. The snake was too large, too powerful. He had to use his wits, his agility to survive. He had to gamble. As the creature lunged again, jaws agape, Barry threw himself to the side, plunging into the murky water. He felt the creature's body brush against him, its scales rough against his skin. He kicked off the bottom, propelling himself towards the surface. He broke the surface, gasping for air, his lungs burning. He had to get out of the water, had to find higher ground. But the snake was fast, surfacing behind him, its head weaving back and forth, its tongue tasting the air, searching for him. Barry knew he had precious seconds, perhaps only one, to act. He spotted it then, a glimmer of hope in the midst of despair, the staircase leading to the second floor, still partially above water. He swam towards it, his muscles screaming with exhaustion, his lungs burning. The snake was right behind him, its dark form cutting through the water. Barry could feel the vibrations in the water as it closed in, its presence a palpable threat. He reached the stairs, hauling himself up, his hands slipping on the slimy wood. He scrambled up the steps, his movements frantic, desperate. He could feel the creature's hot breath on his heels. Then, with a final burst of adrenaline, he reached the safety of the landing. He collapsed on the floor, gasping for air, his body trembling with exertion and terror. Below him, the water moccasin thrashed in frustration, unable to reach him. Barry lay there for what felt like an eternity, his chest heaving with each labored breath. Every inhale felt like a battle, every exhale a small victory. His clothes were soaked through, clinging to his skin, his body racked with uncontrollable shivers. The storm raged on outside, oblivious to his plight, the wind howling like a beast. He had survived. He had stared death in the face and emerged, battered but alive. He looked down at the murky water, at the dark shape that still patrolled the depths, a silent predator. A wave of nausea washed over him. He had faced his fear, had confronted the terror that lurked beneath the surface, and he had lived to tell the tale. But the memory of those cold reptilian eyes, the feel of the creature's scales against his skin would stay with him, a chilling reminder of his brush with death. He had to get out of this house, had to find higher ground, a place of safety. But for now, he allowed himself a moment of respite, a moment to savor the precious gift of life. The ordeal had changed him, left an indelible mark on his soul. He knew he would never forget this day, the day he came back from the brink. The storm finally broke by morning, leaving behind an eerie silence. Sunlight, pale and tentative, filtered through the grimy windows. The floodwaters had receded, leaving behind a trail of destruction. Barry descended the stairs cautiously, his every sense on high alert. The air was thick with the smell of dampness and decay. The water moccasin was gone, vanished back into the depths from which it had come. He made his way through the wreckage of his home, his heart heavy with the weight of his ordeal. The flood had taken so much, leaving behind a trail of destruction and loss. But he was alive. And that, he realized, was all that mattered. He would rebuild, would find a way to move forward. He had to. Parc Fontaine was a street transformed, scarred by the fury of the storm. The once peaceful neighborhood now lay in ruins, a testament to nature's unforgiving power. Neighbors emerged from their battered homes, their faces etched with shock and disbelief. They gathered in small groups, sharing stories of survival and loss, their voices tinged with a mix of fear and relief. The flood had bound them together in a shared experience of terror and loss. In the face of such overwhelming devastation, they found solace in each other's company, a fragile sense of community amidst the chaos. Barry stood on the sidewalk watching as the cleanup began. He felt a mix of exhaustion and determination, knowing that the road to recovery would be long and arduous. The water had receded, but the memory of that night, of the terror that lurked beneath the surface, lingered like a shadow. The streets were littered with debris, a stark reminder of the storm's wrath. He knew he would never forget the water moccasin, the embodiment of the storm's fury, the guardian of the deep. Its presence had been a chilling reminder of the dangers that lay hidden in the floodwaters. It had tested him, pushed him to the brink of survival, and left him forever changed. The experience had etched itself into his very being, a constant reminder of his vulnerability. The terror on Rue Parc Fontaine had passed, but its echo remained, a chilling reminder of the fragility of life, the capricious nature of fate. The street, once full of life, now stood as a silent witness to the storm's devastation, and Barry, forever marked by his ordeal, carried the memory of that night, a secret burden, a story etched in the depths of his soul. He knew that the scars left by the storm would never truly heal, but he also knew that he had survived, and that was something to hold on to. If you enjoyed this story, please subscribe to my YouTube channel for more fictional stories based on true events and places like this one. Let me know in the comments that you subscribed so I can reply with my gratitude. Thank you for watching.